Purple Heart Homes presents Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Gallina and Brad Borders.
Well, hello, everyone.
Wow, John, your voice.
I know, it's a little different today.
Are you ill? Do you have allergies?
Well, it's actually Devil Dog Devin filling in for John with the wonderful, always exuberant Brad Borders.
Oh, wow, that was good.
Yeah.
That was sort of like a WWE announcement, ring walk.
Yeah. I should practice
The
that.
exuberant one. He's bombastic.
That's right.
He's fantastic. Yes. All
Yeah,
right. Okay.
yeah, that'd be amazing. Yeah.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we've got a great show for everybody today.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
You going to do the spiel?
The spiel. Oh, yeah. Hey, you're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes, a 501c3 that specializes in helping veterans with housing needs. You know, I completely have lost myself. And our guests this morning are Mike and Melissa Neader.
Good morning.
Yeah, say good morning.
Well, all
Good
right.
morning.
I did not want to get in the way
You know-
of Devil Dog Devin because it gets rolling downhill and might clear us all out there.
that's-
Yeah,
but,
you know, it's okay. We just kind of have fun on this show. If that wasn't the case, then
that's
Brad
not
would
what
not
Brad
allow me
said
on
when
here.
he reached out. Just kidding.
So so the background, the reason we're doing this show is because Melissa had a show on WSIC on Thursdays at 8 a.m. And then life got busy and she couldn't do it anymore. And then so WSIC asked us if we'd be interested in doing that. And so Melissa's show had incredible ratings, and then we came in and drove them way down. Then we got fired from Thursdays, and then we ended up on Tuesdays. And then we were so bad, they decided to give us an hour instead of 30 minutes. So, man, it's just been great.
I'm glad you fact-checked all that before you stated
That's
it.
right. That's right. That's exactly right.
Everything Brad says is 100% factual all the time.
Just ask my wife. So,
It's not a FCC violation to lie on the radio.
that's
is it?
exactly right.
No, I just checking for a friend.
That's exactly right. Well, we do have, and John is on a super top secret mission, another one in an undisclosed location in Sarasota, Florida. Right?
Your training shows, training
I'm not
shows
sure
through.
that's-
He'll be back. He'll be back next week. In a couple weeks, I am venturing off to the lovely state of Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
For my final Army Reserve annual training of my military career, which,
Finally.
as you can tell from my
Wow.
voice, I'm not unhappy about at all.
Now, just for everybody listening, I can see Brad's calendar at work, and everything says Final Army.
Yes, final Army physical, final Army teeth cleaning, final, right, all of that. Right.
Does that
We're
require
counting
the
down.
final Army shaving?
Just fine. Oh, that's coming. That's coming. So let me tell you this. This is one thing that we're going to do next year. When I officially, my official retirement date is April of 24, and so, but there'll come a point where I can tell the Army to kick rocks. Right before that. Right. And just like I'm not coming back. Right. Because I've fulfilled all my requirements. On my last drill weekend, when I do have to shave, clean shaven, Mark Grindle and I, that same weekend, so Mark works in our manufacturing facility, and Mark grows a glorious beard. I mean, it is glorious.
Oh, my
It's
God.
epic. It's got its own
Is he
zip
seriously
code.
going to shave?
Yeah, and he's going to shave. We're going to both go slick,
Oh, my
right? And then
gosh.
we're going to have a beard growing competition for a year
Oh, Tammy.
to see whose beard can be A, greatest in length, like a turkey beard,
Right.
and then B, graded on whose is most majestic.
So if you will allow me just a moment of some airtime here, because even
would.
yes,
This space,
Yes,
that's
it-
been growing since the first weekend in April.
see
Yeah.
that's
That's already-
like turbo grow.
Oh, it's going to grow. I like put
So-
Miracle Grow on it. Just put that blue stuff on there.
It just
grows.
It
man.
does. It
It's
does.
amazing.
So for years, Mike, because of the restaurant business, of course you can have a beard, but you have to wear a beard guard and those things with restaurant business. But through the many, many years of McDonald's, Mike was always
Clean shaven.
clean shaven.
Yeah.
Notice he's clean shaven right
He
now.
is.
But
But there's been several times when the beard,
Oh, yeah.
the mustache,
Oh, yeah.
have a tendency to continue to
You want to get in
show
on
up.
this, Mike?
know,
Huh? You're not going to get in on it?
I'm talking about that, but you know,
Oh, and Mike
There
is, for
is-
those listening on
Somebody don't
radio,
like
he's leaning his
So-
head to his bride,
Yes.
going, "She's not going to let
I'm going
me."
to ask you a really awkward question, Devin and Brad. Have you ever kissed a beard?
No.
Kissed a
Okay.
beard.
Very
have
valid
not.
point.
No,
Very
I
valid
don't
point.
believe I
So-
have.
yeah.
It's not,
You're impaled
right, it takes a while to get to where.
past that impaling point. So when you're coming in for a kiss, if we look like we're
Past the
doing,
impaling point.
yes,
Now, I have been in an
strategic
awkward
maneuvers.
hug too long, and
Yeah.
like you're brushing up against each other. Yeah,
That is
Kind of
awkward.
intertwined.
Yeah, you're like,
That-
oh,
They have all
So,
kinds of
beard
beard products.
detangling.
TMI.
So,
Melissa would do the old dive bomb. She'd be coming in looking for a bald
Yeah,
spot.
I'm like, my lip, my lip. So
know if you can
Tammy,
say that on the
if
radio.
you need some steel lip protectant,
Awesome.
yes. I mean, it's just truth. It's just where we're at. So
Well-
that's what you got. to look
So you
forward
see
to.
me clean shaven. We'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, listen, hey, we are really glad to have Mike and Melissa Neader in the studio with us today. A little different. Normally, we're interviewing veterans and veterans organizations and things like that. Mike and Melissa are longtime friends of Purple Heart Homes. And I just, if you could, for those that haven't heard you on WSIC or on our podcast or anything, tell us a little bit about your background, family, business, all that stuff, and tell us, give us a little history on you guys.
Mike, kick us off there, honey.
Well, we are longtime former McDonald's franchisees in Iredell County. Running. I've been in the business for 47 years. Melissa's been 32. We recently sold our franchise last year and retired. We just no reason for it. It was time, and we had a great run. We had up to a total of 10 restaurants in Iredell County. We had our Neader name was my father started the business in '75, and I went to work for him at 15 years old. So met Melissa in the business in the late
Was
late
Melissa
80s.
an employee? Was she a
Well,
McDonald's employee?
that's a long
Did you
story.
pick up the
You
fry
don't
shell?
know the story?
No,
long
no,
story.
let's hear
It's
it.
a good story, but
Yeah.
it depends on who you ask. We'll hear Mike's version, then I'll tell you the truth.
Okay. And then I'll tell you mine.
Mine is very simple, and I can tell it real quick because we only have, 15, 18 minutes toward break. But anyways, I was a supervisor in the late 80s, and I was needing a landscaper for a couple of restaurants my dad owned in Mooresville and Cornelius. And I happened to get behind a person in line at the Texaco at 150, if you can remember. Back
I do remember.
There was a Texaco there.
Yeah. Was that when that was all that was there?
That was all that was
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, it
and,
was.
and you had to pump your gas. You had to go inside to pay. And I was behind. I saw a young lady with a pair of white tennis shorts on, and she was mowing grass, running a mowing crew. And I thought, wow, she's very attractive. And and she had a landscape shirt on with a name and number on it. So I wrote the
Hey,
number.
can I get your number?
Well, it wasn't quite that easy. But it was
easy.
close. But I always carried one of those little pads in my pocket to take notes, and I whip it out and I write the number down. I call the company, make it an appointment with the owner, sit down, hire the company, meet them at one of my restaurants the very next day or week to get introduced to the crew, and guess who shows up to cut the grass?
That
at
young girl
McDonald's?
with the tennis shorts.
And the rest. Well, as the story goes, I had a motorcycle at the time, and she saw the sticker. We were talking. She saw the sticker on my blazer, and she asked me, and I said, "Yeah, you want to go for a ride?" And
That's it.
what a ride it's been.
32 years later.
Yeah, we went for a ride, all right.
So y'all got married in 1991.
We did.
So did we. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So my quick short story on how Miss Tammy and I met. I was a bouncer at a bar. New Year's Eve, 1989. I broke up a fight between two girls, and I married one of them.
Wow.
Tammy.
Wow.
The winner,
good,
obviously.
How have I not heard that story
Well,
before?
you know,
we're
there's-
going to elaborate after that.
I'm like an onion. I'm like an onion. Got to peel it back, man.
Also, we have quite a journey there from bouncer to chaplain.
Yes,
So
it is a journey.
Good story.
It is a journey. Yeah,
And
it's a
that's-
rocky road.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. But those are the pieces, like you talk about putting pieces back together, or the pieces that it takes to absolutely reach the point where you're at today.
Yeah.
Because I was not aiming to become in the restaurant business. But I call McDonald's my archway to opportunity.
Oh,
And it truly
That's
has
catchy.
been. See?
yeah, wow.
I'm all about some alliteration and some marketing pieces
Right.
because if not, people will have a tendency to forget.
Right.
But it did. It was my archway to opportunity because I was on track to become a state park ranger. When I met
Oh,
Mike,
very
I was
cool.
halfway through my college career.
Wow.
I'd finished up at Mitchell and was paying for my education and went and I'd planned on going to state where my brother had attended. And then I met Mike and I'm like, you know what? Life is getting ready to shift up. He is.
I was in the process of I had my paperwork filed to become a franchisee, and I was not a franchisee yet, but and then Melissa joined the journey with
did.
me
Yeah.
Yeah.
to buy our first store.
So I switched gears from outdoor work, which of course I still have a passion for two-cycle and tractors, which
Right.
Mike and I both enjoy the outdoors on that end. But at a point in my life where things totally pivoted, I switched gears and I'm like, if I'm going to be involved with Mike, I want to learn the family business. So I switched gears, went in and actually was employed by his dad because before we were owner-operators and worked my way up to crew of all levels, and then was a breakfast coordinator, opened store Mooresville, the original Mooresville site down there. Was a breakfast coordinator up until the point where we had our first kid.
Did you come up with the idea for the breakfast burrito? Because that's
I
the
know
one-
that's a favorite of yours, but I
wonderful.
cannot
That is
find
the
it,
most wonderful thing in
And-
the world. The
But you know what?
McDonald's breakfast
and that was
burrito.
the connection with Brad there. But to pull all this together was McDonald's was our way to be involved in the community. It was always important for McDonald's with the owner operators. We're a locally owned worldwide brand. Everyone knows McDonald's, but you don't always know your operator. But Mike and I have been very, very visible. Mike really, really just in the stores all the time. I'm in the stores. I got a lot of food, ate there, but I toted a lot of food out.
Yeah.
But that piece
sure.
really how we connected with Purple Heart Homes. So
Yeah.
not just the Mike and Melissa journey. Mike and Melissa journeyed in and met Dale. And Dale and I had some amazing conversations and then brought in to meet all the PHH team. And I'm like, and then we'll get into this once we get back in from the break. But what I want to talk about before the break is how do people find their way to helping others? How can you make the connection natural in your world? There was a natural fit. We all get hungry, right? You
Yep.
have volunteers. If you don't feed your volunteers, they fall out. What better way to find for McDonald's owner-operators to provide breakfast for your volunteers? Breakfast, biscuits, kick-off golf tournaments.
I can't
So-
tell you how many meals that we would have a volunteer day on Saturday, and I would call Melissa on
Yep.
Friday night and go, "Hey, I need biscuits for
Yep.
how many? 27 volunteers. It'll be ready at 7:15 in the
And
morning."
and here's the other piece. I got to give a shout out to our daughter. She's been at McDonald's since she was 17 years old. She's getting ready to turn 31. She'll love me for that.
Thanks, Mom.
But she has been my coordinator on the storefront end of it. I'd text her and say, "Hey, this is what I need," and I'd text Rob and say, "Hey, go see Eliza." So Rob would walk in. He'd know who to see. The food is ready to go on. And when you plan events, as y'all well know, at PHH, planning events takes a lot of time, a lot of
does.
effort, a lot of
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And if one thing goes sideways, your whole event's struggling.
And then if
I
you
mean,
don't have to think about something, you just know it's going
It's
to
gonna
be
be done.
done. It makes life so much
Yeah.
easier.
So, but the relationship. So that is where early on, it's like, how can we be a part of Purple Heart Homes?
Well, I'll tell you one thing I really appreciate. Every time we had a volunteer day, there would always be 2 breakfast burritos stuck in a separate bag.
I would
in
have
the
to
side
guard those.
for me, right?
Yes.
Because I would specially request those because
Yeah.
I don't do sausage biscuits, but I could eat 100
Burrito.
breakfast
Too many
burritos.
carbs, huh? It's-
Man, I could eat those things all day long.
Melissa and I had an agreement because she was so involved with keeping our community things going on. I was always like, I don't want to know. Just take care of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's the business aspect.
Yeah, right.
Of me.
Right.
You got a bottom line to
how
protect.
How many pigs? Good God.
How many biscuits, Melissa?
I'm like, bag them up and let me run out the door. It's like,
Hey, we're getting ready to run into a break here in just a second. When we come back, Karen is here to tell us about the project of the week. We're going to hear more from Mike and Melissa Neader on their involvement with Purple Heart Homes. The Devil Dog is here. Mrs. Giggles is here. And you're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. See you in a few. Hey, welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. You can find out more about what we do for veterans each and every day by going to our website at phhusa.org. That's phhusa.org. And we are joined by everybody's favorite segment of the week with the Metal Queen herself, Deadshot Karen, who just, by the way, we got to hear just briefly about this amazing weekend that you just had.
Yeah, it
Holy
was,
cow.
and I was really happy to hear about your enthusiasm for the outdoors, because I have great enthusiasm as well. But every year I go with my best friend Deborah Fox. Shout out to Deb. We go to the event called BOW, B-O-W, and it stands for Becoming an Outdoors Woman, and it's put on by the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. And they teeter back and forth between the coast and the mountains. This is, I think, my 8th year doing this, between 7 and 8. I missed a year or so having kids, but yeah, it's just tons of outdoor classes. You just learn everything that you can imagine, between outdoor cooking, how to shoot a gun, how to drive a boat, turkey hunting.
That's awesome.
Fly tying. It is amazing.
And as it turns out, my sister-in-law,
Yes?
Cindy Borders, had signed up to do this thing. And
Right.
we didn't know that you guys were going to be at this weekend thing together. And actually, little known fact, she invited my wife, Miss
know.
Tammy, to go. And Miss Tammy...
We're going to reel her in next year.
I'm here. I told her, I said, next year it's going to be at the beach. And she was like, oh, yay.
Well, I don't know about the beach, but it's. I mean, I did skip a class one year when I was there to go, because I'd never been to the Outer Banks, and I skipped a class to go take a ride. It was amazing. But yeah, it's on the Albemarle Sound, and it's just phenomenal. I look forward to it every single year.
That's awesome, Tammy.
Yeah.
We're signing you up. You're going next year.
Oh, also, Melissa, can I please put a formal request in to bring the Egg White Delight back?
you know, that's funny. I've had that request before.
I cried.
I was one of, we have that in common as well. That was my go-to
Yes.
sandwich as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
so
loved it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I guess you can't do anything about it now, though, huh?
That's right. All right, Karen, well, tell us about the project of the
Okay.
week that you got going on.
Yes, this is a project for my office mate, Lamar.
Oh,
Shout
yes.
out to Lamar. He's, I think, my work BFF. But he has a project for a veteran by the name of Robert Pyron. He's a corporal, 90 years old, Korean War.
Yeah, it's a great story.
Yeah, he lost his home on March 24th. He is in Winona, Mississippi, and when the tornadoes came through, it took his house down.
Horrifying.
So we stepped up immediately, and Lamar's working on getting a veteran tiny house out to him.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
incredible.
can't. It's just going to be so
We're
exciting.
working with 7 Days for the Troops
7
and our
Days for
friend
the-
Scott Burns down in Tupelo,
Oh,
Mississippi.
Scott. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be just a really exciting event. The tiny house is going to be transported in May.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to add a deck and a ramp to it as well. And we hope to have them in by the end of May. But combat veterans are going to, it's going to be kind of it's probably going to be a tearjerker, because there's some combat veterans that are going to escort this tiny house through on their motorcycles.
Oh, my goodness.
So it just gives me chills just thinking about it. But and a local grocery store is also going to stock his pantry for him. And I believe the mayor of Statesville and the mayor of Winona, Mississippi, are in discussions about,
Really?
really making this a big deal.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
So yeah, very exciting.
Oh, that is really
Yeah,
cool.
and if you haven't seen our tiny houses, wow, you need to come by and take a look at them. They're just, I would love to have one myself, but just,
They are fantastic.
it is amazing to walk out to that build area in our warehouse and see those things coming together.
That is great.
Yeah.
I'm so thrilled to hear that. When we
Yep.
heard, I watched a weatherman on YouTube, and I was watching his channel that night when all
With
those
the
storms going
tornadoes.
through Winona, and there were 4 or 5 other cities, and just devastation, man. It's really cool to know that we can that we can be involved in the rebuild of that.
Yeah,
So,
and we don't get a lot of tornadoes in this area, but I have actually been in a building that was hit by a tornado.
It's no fun, man.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it is absolutely terrifying. Well, one of the things that I want to let everybody know, that's just one veteran story, and we have there's another veteran that we're serving here locally in Iredell County, and I just wanted to share briefly before we begin to bring Mike and Melissa into this discussion about philanthropy and supporting organizations like Purple Heart Homes. And this particular veteran, I met him a few weeks back, and a local bank had, through this guy's family, this guy had been literally living in the woods for 4 years, right? And he served in the 70s. He had a thriving business. He was a handyman. And then some things happened, right? And lost everything. He lost his business. He lost his home. Ended up, when he was living in the woods, was robbed and beaten and left for dead a couple times. He's got some injuries from being beaten by criminals. So we worked together with this local bank to put this guy's in a house now. But he suffers, from anxiety. You can imagine, right? I mean, he doesn't trust anybody, and he's always looking over his shoulder. And so a week and a half ago, John and I and two other veterans went over to his house and just stood in his yard and talked with him. And he just started crying because 4 veterans came over to his house and just wanted to listen to him. I mean, it was this incredibly powerful moment, right? And I think about what we get to do on a day-to-day basis, right, and impact the lives of people at that level. It is really humbling to be able to be involved in stuff like that. And so, Mike and Melissa, you've been a part. You've made giving a part of your life. Why, and not just for Purple Heart Homes, but just why is giving so important to you?
I've thought about this since you called us, and what makes us to want to give. And I can remember as a young boy, as a family traveling one time, and we stopped at a rest area. Mm-hmm. And I remember this so vivid that there was a family that was broke down and in need of money. And I remember my parents, this was probably the late 60s, early 70s maybe, giving them $100 out of their pocket. And I'll never forget that because I remember asking, I remember it was a $100 bill. Why did y'all do that? And Mom and Dad explaining the gift of giving back. They were in need. They needed help. And and one thing with our McDonald's training, give back. You hear that when I was going through my original training orientation to become an operator, giving back to your community. And that even set it deeper with us. And we just have always, we couldn't say no. We never could say no. I mean, I know I say that sincerely, unless it was absolutely crazy request, but we just felt good about it. It had nothing to do with, we didn't really care if we were given a plaque or name in the paper or whatever. Right. We really didn't want that. We just liked to do it. It felt good.
There was a really smart fellow that said this: it is more blessed to give than it is to receive.
It is. It really is.
And there's something about giving when you just give for just the sake of giving, because you see a need or you just want to give. The giver, you're not just giving; you're receiving. Right,
sure,
when you're receiving the blessing of knowing that maybe you filled a gap that no one else would. Hey, man, $100 back in the 70s.
Yes,
that's a long way, man.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it goes a lot further than it does now, man.
And that was one of many growing up. I had 3 siblings, and so there were 6 of us usually. And I can remember going to church, and apparently they give the little envelope for the kids.
Oh, right, yeah.
And we were required a quarter, a dime, and maybe it was put in our mind at an early set as parents to our children, but we just have always, I don't know, I can't.
Yeah, well, you walk past situations, and McDonald's is what I call the real world. There's always something going on, very, very real world.
Yeah.
And we would hear scenarios and situations, and we would always say, you can't walk past that and say, how can I help? What can I do? How can we come up with a solution, whether it be the employees, folks, nonprofits?
Yeah.
Because we've been so involved with so many different nonprofits
Yeah.
and working to help them find out the best way, because you write a check, the check is cashed and it's done.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You build these relationships
Yeah.
continuously. And of course, nonprofits, you can't function without dollars, but you also can't function without people.
That's right.
That's absolutely true.
And
Yeah.
so it's inspiring others to find their way to help be involved in nonprofits of their choice. Find someone, find something that speaks to your heart, and it will light you up.
What do you think is what is unique about what we do at Purple Heart Homes that kind of triggers that
Oh,
for
yeah.
you guys? What would you say that is?
Well, we had a very good customer, Vic McIntyre, World War II veteran.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got
Came
my
in-
picture with Vic.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Well, he came into McDonald's every morning.
Navy
hot cakes
veteran.
and yes.
Yeah.
And we became very good friends with him, and to be able to sit there and talk to somebody who was in World War II.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I listened to
that's-
some stories of him on the boats and
Yeah.
the ships and his job, keeping the points filed on the equipment on the boat going overseas to keep, so they'd crank when they got there.
Yeah.
But Vic passed away last year or so. We had him come to one of our reopenings up there at Signal Hill when we reopened that store in full military outfit that he wore when he was in the Navy.
That's what I got my
Wow.
picture with
That's
him.
awesome.
I was there that day. Yeah. It was awesome.
It was
I bet he was better shaven than you were.
He was.
seriously, and he was self-contained, took care of himself up to the day he died.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't requiring anything of Purple Heart. But we've been to the groundbreaking and the opening of the 2 tiny homes out there, flag raising.
Right.
We've been out to your place. It really tugs at the heart to see
It's
what y'all
real
do.
stories,
Yes.
real solutions for real stories for our neighbors here and in other states as well. So when we know we have the confidence in the organization, we have confidence in
Yeah.
PHH, the team and all involved, that when we give to PHH, the results is going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay? It is from start to finish, you're going to see the project through. And it's not just for today, it's for the future. You're setting the groundwork for something to continue. It's a legacy. It's an opportunity. And without our veterans, we wouldn't be where we are in this country. So if we cannot respect and help those who have served, then we need to reevaluate where our priorities are and what direction we're going.
Yeah.
So
So
it's just
so did we do a project for Vic?
No.
no,
No.
Have
but
you,
it's a
have you had a chance to meet some of the veterans that we've served
Yes.
in person?
I think we met, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Melissa, on one of the folks that was awarded one of the tiny homes out there. What side
Yeah.
of town was that?
Oh, in Taylorsville.
No,
Yeah.
here.
What about the guy
Fifth
that,
Street?
that was the one too? So there's
Yeah.
been several. We've actually been on job sites. I've brought food out and I've
Yeah.
met the veterans then.
Yeah.
There was one that wanted some tomato plants. And some, so I connected some
Did he
plants.
think you just had tomato plants at McDonald's?
Grow our own tomatoes.
Grow our
and
tomatoes.
stuff.
He's like, yeah, man, we got to.
It's-
Very organic, right?
Yeah, well, we got to. Yeah, man, I got to get the staff out in the field this morning.
I
and get
love
the
how you
tomatoes
connect the
in.
dots somewhere where I didn't even intend for them to go.
Right. Yeah.
But it's just the relationships again, and let's time travel back a little bit here, Brad, because you've been a part of several of my shenanigans too, as far as bringing attention.
Yeah.
And again, the whole part of nonprofits is you've got to tell your story, but you've only got so many seconds with someone's attention span before they're off on something else.
True.
So it's constantly trying to bring people back to your story, your mission, what you're doing. So sometimes to do that before you would ascend the hill, there was an opportunity for you to sit in a three-wheeler on Purple Heart
Now
Homes'.
let's just back up just a second now. So when
have
people
a picture.
think, when people, yeah, I got pictures
got
of this
video.
too. We got video.
Oh, my.
So we do a cycling event. It started in 2020. I came up with a stupid idea, riding a bike up and down a mountain 16 times to raise funds for Purple Heart Homes. I thought it raised a little bit of money. It turned out raising a lot of money, and so we did some promotion on that. And so Melissa,
I said, I'll help.
Yeah,
Let me
okay. And
help,
when Melissa
Brad.
says I'll help, it involves public embarrassment,
Yes.
Oh, wow.
perhaps a costume.
Oh, yes.
And in this case, it involved a tricycle type
It was
thing.
a drifter style, and Brad's knees
For
were
a
in
child.
his ears.
For a child.
Please help Brad more often.
Yes.
It was for a child. It was like like a 7-year-old would have been too big for this thing. And she was like, I think you ought to get on this and ride it around in the parking lot.
Yes.
And my knees are up in my ear holes
Yeah.
and trying to ride this thing. And
But you
of course
did it.
I did
It's
it.
all
Yeah,
for the
I did it.
cause.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
It
and
is.
it hurt. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
painful. I couldn't walk after I got off the thing.
Well,
I
we had
started
a little
cramping in
trouble
my
getting.
hip flexors.
Yeah, it is.
Was this a big wheel? What are you?
It
It
was
was-
big wheel-ish.
So it was that size. However, it had the small wheels, small caster wheels on the back that would drift.
Yeah.
So there's no
wow.
control.
We were sliding around the parking lot. It was fantastic.
Brad, be glad she didn't bring her McCoupe, her little motorized.
Yeah.
I've
seen that.
Don't give her any idea.
Yeah.
I've always had fun with the
Give
whole
me-
marketing piece and bringing attention to.
Well,
things.
Melissa, you are notorious for dressing up in all kinds of different. I'm actually shocked that you did not wear some type of a fairy costume or something.
It crossed my mind this morning, some radio antennas or something such as that. So, but I didn't want to take away from Devin, the devil dog over here, because I'm afraid it would have distracted him so much. He would have lost his train of thought.
Distracted. That's
It
true.
would have distracted him. That's for sure.
But again, it's all about finding ways it can be entertaining, but it still gets the results you need.
Absolutely.
To raise the funds, to bring awareness, and because not everyone's comfortable with sitting on a big wheel or wearing a tutu. However,
That's right.
There's ways for all of us to
Well,
get
yeah,
involved.
or riding a big wheel in a tutu, which
wow.
that would
We
be-
can take it to that next level.
Man, I better be careful.
If
I'm
you would
setting-
like to see Brad ride a big wheel in a tutu, go
So
to
we-
PHH USA.
I think you're up next.
Well, and what's the dollar amount to make this happen?
Oh yeah.
I've still got the bikes.
That's right. That's
Still got the
exactly-
bikes.
Yeah,
So
boy,
when
that's
is
going to be
Take the
big
Hill?
dollars.
Is that October?
Yeah, Take That Hill will happen
Oh, that'd
on
be
October
perfect.
7th, but we just got some big news last week. We have requested from the Medal of Honor Society to have a Medal of Honor recipient come and share their story with us on that day, and that is going to happen. We're finalizing details on that, but
Awesome. Perfect.
we're really excited about it. It's going to be a huge, really big community event on October the 7th at Southern Distilling, and so registration's live and open now. You can find out more about that by going to our website.
So you're going to need to promote that.
Yes.
Yes, you're going to need some to promote that
Yes.
prior to
Yes.
the day because you need to bring attention to this.
Yeah,
physical activity.
absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure it'll involve a big wheel and a tutu.
I'm
so-
getting in the mountain as we speak.
Hey, we're going to run to break, and we'll be back. You're listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. Hey, welcome back to Putting the Pieces Back Together, presented by Purple Heart Homes. If you want to find out more about us, you can go to our website at phhusa.org. That's phhusa.org. We are joined in the studio by a cast of characters to include Mike and Melissa Neader, who have been longtime supporters of Purple Heart Homes. We're talking today about philanthropy. We're talking about giving and what that means to people, and we're very appreciative. Mike and Melissa owned a number of McDonald's restaurants in our area, and for as long as they owned those restaurants, they just sold them last year, but we never had to, I've told people this, we never had to pay for food to feed volunteers on a work project, and it was fantastic, and we're very grateful for that. One of the questions that I had for you guys today, what's the most important thing to you when it comes to giving to an organization?
Oh my gosh. So I actually did a little research, okay? Not just
Okay.
for us,
Right.
because I know it's like an automatic fit we were talking about. In fact, of course, there's research around the fact that giving and doing for others, it stimulates all these big words in
Yeah.
your brain, these scientific terms.
Correct.
But it was also interesting to find out that people, when they were given a choice, there was a survey done. I might have to reference my notes because I only read them like once or twice. But there was a survey done for people who received $5 or $20, and you were given a choice whether to keep the dollars or give it to someone else or spend it on someone else, or, pay it forward kind
Yeah,
of
right.
scenario. And they were measured brain reactivity when they're sharing the information. Of course, those who gave it away were much more excited and happy about what they've done. instead of just going and buying something for themselves.
Right.
So it stimulates something inside.
So wait a
of-
minute. They actually did like a PET scan on people's brains when they gave.
Yeah,
And there
they
was
did the follow-up.
something-
They didn't follow them around. They weren't wired as they're walking through town.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So, but just
So
the whole,
yeah, I was like,
Can you
just
imagine-
wondering if they had like this thing on their head, and then they gave some money away, and then it was going ding 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 ding.
That's exactly what they should do. However, Brad, technology has not caught up with that yet. So in your free time,
But what you're
invent
saying,
that.
literally,
Yes.
scientifically, neurologically, there's something that happens to the brain when you give that is good.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It releases some serotonin or
It does
or
those big
endorphins
words.
or
Yes,
something.
those.
All the
Yeah.
big ones.
Oh, that is really interesting.
It is too, but it's like because sometimes
So,
people.
well, yeah.
You
So
get
the
stuck in
plea
your
would
rut,
be,
right?
yeah, you want to feel good, give.
Sure.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's easier said than done, right? Because everybody's
Yeah.
schedule is demanding. It's like, I don't
Sure.
have time for this. I don't
Sure.
have time for that. And that's where, you look for opportunities. And PHH often has opportunities to, whether you create the, Friends, where you have an automatic draw from your bank account.
That's correct.
Hearts
Yep.
of Honor, thank
Yep.
you.
Right.
So there's ways that it can fit your schedule, your demand. But there's also ways.
Sure.
When I've done surprise visits out at your headquarters.
You have.
I'll stop by
On a number of
PHH HQ,
occasions.
and
Yes.
just to make sure that Devin's behaving, I will show up and just see the work in progress, or walk through and see the tiny homes being built.
Right.
And there you see what you support in action, knowing that it's not just this entity that sits off to the side. And PHH exists, but this gives it to where it becomes real. So it's like, yeah, I'm a part of that. Mike and I are part of the team.
Right.
We may not be actually on site every day, but we are there supporting you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and that's a critical term that's used in the fundraising world. It's called engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so charities that engage their supporters and make them feel like they're a part of the family.
You've stepped up your game. I just
Yeah.
randomly get these texts, a group text from, "Hey, it's Brad. How you doing?"
I do. I'm intentional about it,
It
right?
is.
Because
You
I want,
stay connected.
And again, and the connectivity is it's not the end result of the financial support. It's just
Right.
that I'm so relational about the way I do things. I just like to be connected with people, and then ultimately that just has a benefit for the veterans who are on the receiving end
Right.
of what we get to do.
Right.
So
And you can be that voice for those who
Sure.
cannot
Yeah.
be a voice.
That's correct.
Or they don't have the
and when I
capability to
get a
switch.
text from him and I see it come over, I'm like, ooh, Brad's texting. Yes.
it might be
That sounds
something
like
interesting.
Tammy.
I'm so excited.
There'll be something
His wife
interesting.
says that too. It's like, oh, it's Brad. Yes.
Right.
Hey.
Yay.
Wow.
Yeah. She's just giddy every day. She just gets up and just thanks God that, man, holy cow. Right?
That's
We-
amazing.
there's a good story about that, but we'll save that one for later. Hey, tell us about what other charities and causes that you support that are really meaningful to you.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, probably one that comes to the top of my mind. We have a lot, but
Yeah.
we were very instrumental with the Ronald McDonald's Children's Charities and helping get the Ronald McDonald House built in Charlotte.
And tell everybody, what is the Ronald McDonald House? What does that do
That is
for
a
people?
home away from home for parents that have
Critically ill,
critically
injured,
ill
sick
children. That the home is right within walking distance in Charlotte, the Levine Hospital or Children's Hospital.
They're scattered throughout.
Scattered throughout the country.
Actually, the world.
The world. And you can stay in the Ronald McDonald House free.
At no
and
cost.
No cost, and you can
Yeah.
stay there as long as you need to. When your child is right next door that can't go home,
Yeah.
you can walk
Right.
back and forth.
Yeah.
But
That's
the home in Charlotte, we actually have a room dedicated to us because of our work getting the home built and financial support. You go in there in the Mike and Melissa room. But
Right, it's on the mantle.
But
Yeah.
you had a kind of a cool story of someone who stayed there, right?
we sure did.
Yeah, let's
well,
hear that. That's a great story.
The biggest one was Ray Everham, the noted crew chief for Jeff Gordon. He kind of brought it to the Carolinas, brought it to the top, because his child, when he was in Philadelphia, I believe it was, they had a child stay in the Ronald McDonald House. And this would have been back in the 70s or 80s when he was young, coming up through the system and had no money. And he brought an awareness to the Ronald McDonald's Children's Charities through Hendrick Motorsports and helping support it. But and Brad, I'm drawing blanks on
We
the
had
fella.
a manager. I was going to say we also had a manager too.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people. Our neighbor across the street.
You had a store manager that had a sick child
Yes.
that got to
Yes.
stay in the Ronald McDonald
Yes.
house.
The
And so you were
stories-
connected to that.
Oh, we were very connected, and the gift of giving, McDonald's blessed us and continues to bless us, but the world is not like that for everybody. And
Yeah.
the gift of giving can come monetarily or physically, if you can put some physical labor helping somebody. But the pandemic took out a lot of giving, and I don't know how y'all are experiencing it. I know with McDonald's, the Ronald McDonald's House are fully self-funded through charities, givings.
And volunteer groups that come in and
Yeah.
cook, clean,
Right.
and
Everything.
Also, they have food that is provided for
it's
the
a whole
family.
house.
four
Cookies
things.
are
Yeah.
being baked all
Yeah.
day. There's linens or fresh linens.
Wow.
You've got
There's a
washing machines.
Staff
It's a
of
house.
20 people that work
Yep.
it.
Mike-
So the parents don't have to do anything.
Nothing.
No,
No.
Oh, that is
they can come
wonderful.
in and out.
Because you got
There's
enough
constant
to
snacks,
think
there's
about
meals.
Right.
when your
Yep.
when your
That's
baby
amazing.
is sick
It
in the
is.
hospital, and what a blessing to be able to do that for
It
others.
is.
Yeah, we've always enjoyed.
So I've got a wonderful friend, Christine Shatner, in Charlotte, and I think she's been volunteering for the Charlotte Ronald McDonald House
No kidding.
probably over a decade. And
Yeah.
when you talk about the feeling of giving, when she posts in the mornings when she's on her way there, you can feel it coming out of the screen, the love that she feels and the pride that she feels, and how important it is for her to be there each and every single time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's amazing.
Absolutely
There's no
wonderful.
job too small when it comes to volunteering.
yeah.
And
She loves
takes
it.
so many. That's the
Yeah.
priceless part of that.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons that you guys got connected with us in a way that you were like, hey, we could really support this, because like when y'all gave to the Ronald McDonald House, this like something that like it is tangible, it is real, impacting people's lives. And when people let's say hey, I want to help support and fund a tiny house, right? Like from Mr. Pyron. So, for maybe if you're just now tuning in, we've got a veteran that lost his home to a tornado in Winona, Mississippi, just last month, and we're going to drag a 320 square foot completely finished tiny home down to Mississippi in a big train with motorcycles and Devil Dog Devin leading the way in an Amish cart with a horse.
I don't.
Hopefully not
Big
Dazed and
Will and a
Confused.
tutu, I
But
think.
it's going to be a real tangible thing. This real thing is going to a real place with a real human being in desperate need on the other end of that. And he's going to have a safe, accessible home for him to live out his best life. He's a Korean War veteran. He's 90 years old,
Yeah.
right? And if anybody deserves to have a safe, accessible home, a safe place to call home, it's that guy. And so I think if folks are thinking about, man, I'd really like to support something, I'd really like to be able to give to something, but I want to see what it is it's happening. And I think on the other end of that is that when people come to support Purple Heart Homes, you're not just stroking a check and then we're done with you.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's people were like, you will get contacted.
Yeah.
You
Part of the team.
you will. People
coming
will.
for ya.
We want to. We're like, hey, be a part of our family, right? And I think that is a critical piece of all of this. Is this idea of engaging with people, and then that just advances the movement. It just advances everything along. And I think in this day and age, when in many ways, we're so disconnected from one another, that technology was supposed to bring everybody together, but it actually puts walls up many times.
Yes, it does.
And to be able to connect with somebody across the coffee, having a cup of coffee or having a meal together, people are longing and hungering for that. And then when you can combine that relationship with a cause that is changing people's lives, that's the recipe for all kinds of goodness.
It
right?
is.
And I'm really excited about that. What message would you like to send other individuals who are considering maybe supporting Purple Heart Homes or any other charity? What message would you like to send them?
Go ahead, Melissa. Take it.
Explore your options. Find what area speaks to your heart, whether it be the veterans, whether it be children. find an area that you can help, and even if it's not just financially, you can find what programs are coming up, whether they need food donated, whether you need all hands on deck for setup for an event or tear down from an event. Be a part of it, and you will find yourself making new friends.
Yep.
You will find people that have shared common stories. Maybe you served and you don't know how to make that connection again. But you will find relationships and a journey that's going to put you outside of your normal routine. You may feel uncomfortable for a while, but you grow so much in that next step to where it opens doors to other opportunity, relationships, and it's like, I was a part of that. The pride that you feel when you look at a completed project, say, yeah, I was part of that.
Do you guys have veterans in your family connections?
Oh, yeah. Melissa's dad's an Army vet.
veteran.
My dad's a Navy vet. I have at least 3 or 4 uncles that are Army vets. As far, and I don't know where that chain stopped. I'm not a vet, nor any of my siblings.
You're a McDonald's vet.
I'm a McDonald's vet, yeah. But I will have to
About
tell
front
you,
lines.
yeah, people ask me a lot, and it's probably, if I had life to start over and do over again, the only thing I would ever change was I probably would have gone into service for a couple years, 3, whatever. But when I turned 18, I was working for McDonald's, and I loved it, and I just never left. So,
right.
But yes, being a veteran is something special.
And you're never too old to volunteer.
Right.
That's
Those
true.
are the pieces. It's like you feel like, well, I'm too old. I have nothing to offer. Everyone's got something to offer.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or picking up the phone and calling other people and encourage them.
Yeah,
There is a
yeah.
way to find.
Yeah, I want to bring
Sorry.
attention to, and just for those locally that live here in Iredell County, we lost a really great man day before yesterday in Benny Wilhelms,
Yes,
a
sir.
Vietnam veteran, and
Yeah.
Benny was one of these guys, served in Vietnam, but never stopped serving.
That's correct.
Never stopped serving. He's got a wonderful family. We were Tammy and I were privileged a couple weeks to go back out and visit with him, and he had a really nasty bout of cancer, and his service is going to be this weekend. So if you know the Wilhelm family, please extend your condolences to them. But Benny was a guy that when we were over there, he was helping coordinate the funeral reception for a young veteran who had passed away. Like literally, he could barely pick up his phone. He was still on the phone talking to people. There were dudes from the American Legion over at his house, and he was sharing, well, here's what we need to do, and we need to do this to get younger veterans in here. And it was just really amazing. The guy never
inspiring.
stopped serving, and that's a really cool part about what we get to do at Purple Heart Homes. We get to interact with people like that are continuing to serve and want to see others live their best lives. So.
And if folks are uncertain how they can volunteer, PHH will help them find a way that they can serve.
That's
and
true.
Find, yeah,
Absolutely.
And
That's
find
true.
a fit.
That is true.
and be a
Yeah,
part of
you can
it.
volunteer your time, your treasure, or your talent. And you can find us at phhusa.org and get involved. And we'd be really glad to see your name come through and help us out, help us help veterans.
Right,
So-
and if there's not a chapter in your area, you can go on our website and maybe you can start one up, be a part of it.
And then that means you would get to talk to Devin because
Oh, yeah,
he's our chapter guy now, so that's pretty exciting.
So I hope that doesn't turn anybody off.
Yeah. So hey, Melissa, Mike, we're going to give you the last word. What do you hope to see in the future for Purple Heart Homes?
Oh, I see a lot of good things. I mean, we do not want to stop being involved.
Yeah.
We're there. Anything you need, certainly reach out. And thank you and everybody that does all that out there, because
Awesome.
it's a beehive of activity.
It is a beehive.
Yes.
That's a great way to put it.
Continuous.
Yeah, it is a beehive.
Yeah.
And Melissa, I fully expect as we approach Take That Hill this year for our big cycling event, I fully expect a tricycle and a tutu.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's on there.
Arrive
It's
at
there.
Purple
Putting
Heart
on the
Homes.
calendar now.
And the tutu
Yeah,
needs to
put
be
it on the calendar.
yellow and black for a
Yeah.
beehive. Make a
Beehive
beehive
activity.
tutu. Yeah.
I have those colors. As a
We'll
matter
put
of
it,
fact.
we'll put it live on TikTok. It'll
Wow.
be great. So, hey, listen, thanks everybody for tuning in this morning. John should be back next week unless something happens between now and then and he gets waylaid somewhere. But hey, you've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together. We'll see you again next week. Thanks so much for what you're doing in your communities. God
Thanks for
bless you.
having us.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Gallina and Brad Borders. Join us again next Tuesday at 8 a.m. and Saturday at 5 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on News Talk WSIC.